talk right into your microphone.
Oh, very close. I'd like to welcome everybody out to our advisory committee.
You're right. It's this one right here.
Now, is it working now?
Can you hear her, Megan?
Can you hear
We
me?
really can't. We can't get that at all.
This one's working.
How about
You
that?
hear
Is
this
that
one,
better?
Megan?
A little. I'm getting a lot of like clutter and thumping.
We'll try and hold our microphone still. Can you hear us now?
A little bit, yeah. Let's try it and then we'll see how it is.
Okay. All righty. Well, I just want to welcome everybody out. This is our advisory committee in conjunction with modifying, you turned me off, modifying our general plan for the city of Hooper. And I appreciate all of our citizens and our city council and planning commission, everyone being willing to meet. I don't know if I need to make, this is Megan Townsend that's up on the screen. She's from the Wasatch Front Regional Council. She's going to be helping us and giving us some hints and how-tos and what we can do from there. We don't, since this is our first meeting, obviously we don't have any minutes or anything like that to read, and I believe we'll probably not have a reverence and a pledge of allegiance unless.
So we're not getting
Not necessary.
audio very good.
Okay.
We're getting bits
Let's
and
see.
pieces.
So the problem is we're trying to get microphones out of that computer, and they can't pick this up, so.
That I heard pretty good.
I'm not even talking to my mic.
And he's not even using a mic. Is this okay now?
It's a little better.
I just have to pull back.
Yeah.
What if I just talk really loud away from the
We're really
microphone?
hoping we can meet in person eventually. I mean, our cases down south are really, really skyrocketing. So we certainly don't want to pose any hazard to you, but we'll just thank you for now.
Give us 1 second. Okay.
Okay, try again, Megan.
Okay, did you hear what I just said?
Something about being busy down south.
Oh yeah, just the cases are getting really bad, but hopefully it improves soon and we can meet in person for the remainder of our project. But we'll just try to make do for today.
Okay, then let's, I don't know, should I just turn the time over to Megan now?
Sure.
Yeah. We're all gathered here, this is our first meeting, and we're all anxious to figure out the best route to take to be able to revise our general plan. So, Megan, you have the expertise, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. We'll tell you all about us and why we're here throughout this process. I'm going to go ahead and share a presentation. Okay. So, sorry, just a second. Can you all see that okay?
Yeah, they can.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I would love to do introductions just to get us started and see who's all in the room on your end. I'll let you know this meeting will be recorded so we can go back and get comments that have been made and make sure we have everything documented. Are you all able to do introductions around the room? Will we be able to hear you? Should we give it a try?
I think so. If you guys talk right into your mic, she probably, and loudly, she should be able to hear you.
Okay, so you want to do introductions around the room? Okay. Let's start over here with that side of the room.
Matt Malone, I'm on the advisory committee.
Ron Venable on the advisory committee.
Amanda Prince on the advisory committee and planning commission.
Bryce Wilcox on the advisory committee as well as the planning commission.
And I'm Mary Simpson, also on the Planning Commission and Advisory Committee.
I'm Leslie Harris, I'm on the advisory committee.
Cindy Cox, I'm
Nathan Platt, Planning Commission and Advisory Committee.
Jamie Barnes on the advisory committee.
Lisa Northrup, Advisory Committee.
Okay, so we have a good mix of getting some feedback.
Yeah, hold on, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it sounds like we have a good mix of city council, planning commission, and some folks that are not on those, right? We have non-planning commissioners, city councilors.
Yes, and several that are just citizens of Hooper.
Perfect, that's a great advisory committee. Your role throughout this project will really just be keep us on track, make sure that nothing we say is totally off, make sure that we're representing Hooper well in all that we do in our outreach as a team, and make sure that this project is going to result in something to be a really great tool for you, and we'll make sure you just keep us in line throughout this project. I'll go ahead and have my team do introductions. I'll start. I'm Megan Townsend. I'm our Wasatch Front Regional Council Transportation and Land Use Connection Program Manager. I'll tell you a little bit more about that program and kind of how we all ended up here together today in just a minute. But I'll go ahead and have Alex, Christy, Maddie, and Rosie introduce themselves.
I'm Stuart Wasatch Front Regional Council.
And I'm Christy Dahlberg, and we make up the TLC team together.
I'm Maddie McDonough. Nice to meet you.
Rosie Hernandez, Administrative Assistant for WFRC.
Okay, so that right there is your project team. I have our names up on the screen. If you want to take a look, the first three names there, Alex, Christy, and myself, we're all with the Wasatch Front Regional Council. Maddie is teaming up with us for this project. She has made the Hooper General Plan outreach her focus, her professional project. So she's a student at the University of Utah, but she's going to help us figure out this whole public outreach in the time of COVID thing. We're going to make this, I have a feeling our public outreach for this is going to be as good as any other project, if not a little better. Maddie has already put a lot of work into this, so I'm really excited to see how the public outreach side of this comes together. On the Hooper City side, we're going to be working with Shauna a whole lot. We already have been in contact with it, and we'll keep that line of communication open. And of course, you all make up our advisory committee, and you're very key to this process. So let's talk a little bit first about what a general plan is. A general plan, of course, is a state-required plan for your city. There's this idea to update it every 10 years. And there's not a whole lot of rules for what it is. There's a whole lot of things that it does not do. Our goal in this process is going to get you a general plan that's what Hooper needs and what Hooper wants. So a general plan is a comprehensive, long-range plan for present and future needs of municipality, county, and the growth and development of the land within the municipality or county. It is an advisory guide for land use decisions, and it is the compass for the community. It's your kind of your guiding star, right? What it's used for, it's used as an advisory guide for land use decisions, such as developing new zoning or ordinances, revising existing zoning changes, or identifying when and where to construct new parks, roads, water, sewer facilities. So essentially, it's used as a guiding document for you to go back to whenever you have a decision in front of you to make as a city. The general plan is a good place to go say, you know, what would our community want? What do they say they wanted? How does this fit with our values? How does it fit with our future land use map? So it's not regulatory, it's just highly advisory. I'm going to go over the scope of our project. You know, this project is it's an award. Hooper City applied in 2019 for an award to do the general plan, right? So we have a technical assistance program through the Wasatch Front Regional Council, and all planning things are eligible. Hooper City applied because, of course, you're due for a new general plan. It sounds like you have some pressing issues that you want to think through with the community. So that award was made in March, and the award was made in the form of our team. So rather than hire a consultant, it felt like a good fit to have our team come work with you. There are a few benefits to that. Of course, this is my sales pitch for why I hope that you'll be glad to work with us. We aren't going to be billing you by the hour. Our team is just here to make this project a success. So we're going to do this scope. We're going to do everything it takes to make the Hooper General Plan successful. We're able to team up in a way, bring along Maddie. That's a big advantage to this project. But essentially, at the end of the day, we're never going to tell you, nope, we've expended our budget on this project. We think that because your general plan is kind of, it's rather old. It might take us a few iterations to get it just right. We'll be here through the whole process with you. Any questions about kind of how this project came to be before I dive into the scope?
No, they don't seem to have any questions.
Okay.
I
I can just see
Oh, I
like
lied.
tiny little.
I know.
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
there is one question.
have just one question. What other projects or cities have you helped with this same process?
Shauna, would you mind repeating that?
Sure. So the question was what, if you could give them some other cities that you've helped with this process?
Yeah, so we just worked on the Perry City General Plan. That was adopted early this year. We've been working on that one for a little over a year prior to that. That's our most recent. As a team, we typically do about one a year. We're also working on a transportation plan for Plain City, a trails and transportation plan, working on a Town of Alta effort to look at what investments they should be making in their core. We did a Clearfield, creating downtown Clearfield plan. A while back, we worked with Centerville on a plan. So we take on one or two of these things a year, and just kind of tackle them on their own timeline.
Thank you.
I have one more question. So what would be, a normal timeline for this general, to go through this process? What amount of time would you expect this to take?
The general plan timelines are usually anywhere from a lot of that can be involved.
Hold on. Sorry, we lost audio.
I don't think it was just you, Megan. You were really quiet. No, I don't know what happened, but your voice got me lower.
Is that any better?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit better.
Okay, so a general plan process can be anywhere from a year to 2 years plus. A lot of times the lengthy part is the adoption process. That's one reason we use an advisory committee, such as yourselves. We have representatives on city council here, on planning commission, and representatives of the community, so that come the end of our efforts, we don't hand you a plan and have you look at it for the first time. Hopefully that can speed things along for you. We're also aware that you're hoping to get this done quickly, so we'll do our best to move it along for you. I think with the plan we have set out, it's doable in a shorter timeline.
Thank you.
I'll actually show you a schedule here. So up on the screen, we've got an outline of our scope. I'll just kind of walk you through the plan. So starting with right here, it says you are here, right? This is the kickoff meeting, the advisory kickoff meeting. After this meeting, we're going to take some of these things we're going to show you today and finalize them and package them. We're also going to work on, and that might be something like the scope if you have changes to what we're going to do throughout this project. We're also going to dive into an area analysis. So we're going to start an existing conditions report, and that'll be a picture of Hooper today. Exactly, just demographics, land use, housing, transportation, as well as economic development and open space. We just want to get a report of where we're starting from and know exactly what we're working with. We'll give you an actual report separate from the general plan, but also incorporate those things into the general plan. We'll also produce an outreach plan, but that will dictate exactly what we'll do within outreach round 1 and later outreach round 2. So following our meeting today, we'll also do outreach round 1. So this might, Maddie will talk more about this, but it'll include both events and surveys. And then we'll wrap all of that into a draft vision. And that's just our initial step after hearing from the advisory committee and from the public. We're going to produce a draft vision, which will bring us into outreach round 2. So we'll take that draft vision back out to the community, back to you, the advisory committee, and have you weigh in on it, kind of react to it, mark it up with a red marker, and then we'll come back to you with a refined vision. And once we have that to a place that everybody feels like, yes, this represents our community, we will produce a draft plan and work with you through the adoption process. So that scope of work is currently, we have it completed in May. We'd be done with the refinement of the vision. There are probably parts of this we could speed along. There are certainly parts that might benefit from more time, but we can kind of work with you on what the exact schedule needs to be. That has you, beginning adoption of this plan early next summer, and we'll be there to support through that. So if you're meeting as a planning commissioner, as a city council, and you have changes to the plan, we'll be there to make those. Any questions on the scope and schedule?
We feel like we have a fairly decent plan, the basis to work from. We're not reinventing the wheel here, but we do need to look very closely at certain parts of the plan. So we feel like we might be under some kind of a time constraint, more in the 9-month to a year time frame. Is that feasible?
You said the 9-month to the year time frame. Is that feasible?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah. I think starting from now, 9 months to a year is probably about right. That requires, that we're not rescheduling meetings and silly things that take up time. But yeah.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay, so I want to get some discussion in here. Shauna, I might ask you to just repeat some of the things that are said in the room. We'll do our best to pick up what's said. Again, would really love to have this meeting in person soon if the stars align. I just want to ask about goals for, go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interject. I was wondering if it's possible also to use the chat box to type in any questions.
That would be good, although I don't think everybody's on their computer.
Yeah, they're just here in chamber without laptops.
Okay, so I want to ask about some goals for the project. Now, this isn't necessarily goals for Hooper, it's just things that you'd like to get out of this process and this plan. We've looked over your last general plan. It's been amended, and it seems like it was originally 2001. So depending on exactly what's been amended, there might have been both changes to what you need out of that plan and changes to Hooper, of course. But let's just ask these questions and see if we can get a better understanding of what you're hoping for. The first question is, how has Hooper changed since the last general plan? And we don't have to find everything here, but just major things, major ways that Hooper's changed. Anything come to mind?
We have grown exponentially. We have many, many new subdivisions either approved or under construction. And so our population, therefore, has grown quite a bit.
Okay, growth, certainly in the last 20 years, right? And maybe with that, all the things that growth brings.
Megan, so I have a question. So I know on our general plan we have numerous, I think we have about 4 or 5 existing parks in the city. And Mary, how many parks do we have total on that? Was some 14?
16, I believe.
We have 16 parks.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Megan.
singing.
Yeah.
We have 16 parks on the land use map, and we have 5 current existing parks. One thing I'd like help with is how do we budget for those parks that haven't been used yet, and how do we implement that in the plan as far as, we probably don't need, like Mary said, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but there's things on the we're not even utilizing this approval for.
Okay, so kind of looking at what's important to have on the plan, what's actually a priority, and then of those parks that are a priority, how do you budget for them? And maybe how do you turn your attention towards the ones that folks are more interested in? Is that what you're thinking?
That and budget, how we, if due to budget, we haven't been able to do more parks that have already been approved, how do we work that in the budget, how's that come to be?
Okay. So, for those who are familiar with the last general plan, what do you like about the last general plan, or what do you dislike? The document itself.
So is my mic on? You hear that?
Will you repeat that?
So this kind of goes on with Nathan's. We did have a very good parks and trails system, but none of it has been implemented. So I really like that. I mean, it was very specific. It was laid out. It was, you know, it's just, we haven't been able to follow through on any of that. So I did like that.
Shauna, what was it that was specific?
The layout of the parks and the trails. You can tell us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you hear that? So specifically, you know, the layouts of the parks and trails is something that they like, and everything like that. But then how to move forward and implement all those things that they had planned before.
Okay. Is there anything you don't like about the last general plan?
We, again, I think for the time that the plan was done, I think it's an excellent plan. I think we realized being a citizen here for the past 10 years and when we have public input, is most of the citizens are okay with the growth that they've had, but they want to kind of hamper the growth as much as possible. And the R2 zone seems to be kind of the, I don't know if it's an issue or problem, but they'd like to see controlled growth and not as much, you know, smaller R2, R4 kind of going that way. So we do have a lot of R2 in the plan. We do have R1 in the plan, but I think the citizens, we have to look at this, probably like to see bigger zoning and less building going on.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me? I also feel like there's a lot of really good things in the plan, but I feel like a lot of those things that were put in haven't been followed through as much, and I would like to see that happen more. The plan provides that we should be annually reviewing it and doing a comprehensive review every 5 years, and going to what Nate just mentioned with the zoning. There's quite a bit of areas that were zoned that have an overlay that they could be R2, but in my mind, I don't believe the intent was ever for all of those areas to become R2. It was,
Okay.
you know, if we're gonna have R2 in the city, these are some possible areas where the sewer could support it, but that doesn't mean we necessarily want them in all of these areas. If we do that, I think we risk preserving the rural feel, which is mentioned several times throughout the general plan as the main thing that we want to have happen.
Okay, so we need to look at that future land use map as a comprehensive vision, you know, not what could every parcel be, but overall what works together for the future. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
And then also a plan for implementation, it sounds like, you know, something that you'll be able to go back and have a guide for how to use.
Yes, and having some flexibility, maybe a little bit so that it doesn't become like a straitjacket for what things change, and so having the ability to kind of review it throughout the duration and adjust it accordingly, I guess.
Shauna, do you mind repeating that last part?
Sure, she just meant, she just kind of reiterated how it's a recommendation for, you know, the plan itself and not the, what, like, you used the word straitjacket, but I'm not sure what.
Just something that we're not completely tied into so that we are reviewing it annually and we have some flexibility if things, you know, it's one thing to look at something on paper, but then once it's actually implemented and we start to experience some of the effects of what has been put down on paper, things can change sometimes, and I would just like to see us be a little bit more proactive in actually reviewing it and having the flexibility to work with it as time goes on.
Okay, we caught that.
Can you hear me, Megan?
Yes.
Okay. With this growth, we have about 9,500 people in our community right now, and there's been a lot of talk about commercial development and what kind of commercial development would be applicable in our community. We are not on the main access. People have to come to Hooper to actually get here. You know, we don't have a thoroughfare. So we need some real discussion on what kind of commercial, be creative, also what kind of architectural look, those kind of things. We do have some zoning that's commercial right now, but that's one of the hot buttons I think right now, because a lot of people are asking, boy, I'd sure like to just go down the corner and get a swig or a pizza or whatever. So kind of condensed kind of commercial projects is going to be a need for our community now and in the future. So, did you hear all that?
I did, yes.
Okay. All right, great.
I did, yep. Okay, so look at what commercial is feasible and where.
I'm gonna see if my mic works.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, a little.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the other important things as we start this planning process is to maybe go through the goals that are in the plan and see what goals have been achieved and see where we're at on those, and then see where we want to go from there. If we want to set new goals, or if we want to continue to adopt the goals that are in the plan as they are. But just seeing kind of where we
Shauna,
are
if
on
you
those.
wouldn't mind repeating that, we kind of lost it.
Yeah, so that was committee member Jamie Barnes, and she just wants to kind of review the goals that are in the current plan and how we've achieved those, and if the goals are still applicable, or do we need to update those to reflect more what the citizens want today.
Awesome. I'm so sorry. We're trying to catch the kind of broken audio we're getting. We'll certainly fix this for next meeting. Thank you. Okay, let's keep going just to stay on time here. Let's get one answer for each of the next questions. And of course, and maybe we'll just kind of ask if you have other thoughts to be able to be sure to send them into us. We will know, fill in the blank here. We will know if this was a successful project based on blank.
You just want anybody to answer? Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Community response and input.
Okay. Community response,
Comprehensive.
comprehensive. Okay, those are really solid fill in the blanks. That was good mad-libbing. Okay. What do you foresee being the biggest challenges facing this effort? Give me like 2.
Can I say something
Fun.
to that? When you look at our veteran community, the ability to fund parks and trails and all the infrastructure to handle everything that everybody wants, the ability is very limited because we don't have the tax base that can support that infrastructure. So we've got to be careful not to have a wish list that far exceeds our budget. And that's one thing I think we need to look at.
Okay. So that's both a reasonable plan and a plan for action, right? What's within your capabilities and how are we going to do it? Any other major challenges? Could you repeat that one, Shauna, just so we can make sure we have it?
Yeah, I was not in the room when she
Oh.
Sorry. We will get this fixed next time. I think this just stretched the limits of our capabilities within this room, but we'll get this fixed for next time.
Talk right here? Okay. So I just mentioned with all of the development going on out here that I think we need to look at our impact fees and see if those are sufficient in covering the toll that it's taking on our infrastructure and on our community, and make sure that those are where they need to be in line with what we need to do.
Okay. And impact fee, the actual assessment of that, I want to make sure expectations are clear for us. We won't assess your impact fees, but that can be a direct recommendation that comes out of this general plan, and it can be like task 1, you know what I mean? So we can discuss when the right time for your city would be to do that, and catalog some reasons why within this project, certainly. Okay. If I am moving on and you have an idea that like is super important, write it down and make sure to get it to Shauna, or you'll have my email at the end as well. Like I said, you're here as the advisory committee because you know her better than anybody, especially better than us, and to hold us accountable. So if there's something that this project needs to accomplish and we're not getting there, that's certainly something to hold us accountable on. And discuss with us and see how we can make it happen if it's something that fits within the scope of a general plan, right? Okay, I'm going to turn the time over to Maddie. It sounds like one thing we didn't say when I asked what are challenges for this project, the big, bright, gleaming one in my head is COVID-19. Usually we like to do lots of in-person chatting, get big groups into a small room. That's kind of how we do public outreach. So we're really glad to have Maddie here to help us just kind of think tank the public outreach and make sure that we get something really great for this plan. And by the end of it, we can say we had as much community outreach as we would have ever had, if not more.
Great, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Sounds good. I'm going to be giving a big overview of all the community engagement plans that I have thus far, and any thoughts and suggestions you have, I really appreciate. As Megan said, you know Hubbard better than we do, and if you don't think one of these things is going to work, or most of them or all of them, please let me know. So starting with the methods for engagement, I've created a website for this project. We want to use the Facebook page that your community has because that has a lot of members that people are very active on. And if you have any sort of emailing list for residents that are signed up to receive updates, that would also be really helpful for this project, so we could notify them about events and surveys. We would suggest using some sort of physical advertisement as well, in addition, to reach any residents who may not be active online. So examples of that could include mailing a newsletter or a postcard, handing out flyers to local businesses, or including a note to be mailed in a utility bill. So think about something like that as well. And I'm going to go into more detail about the upcoming events, the focus groups, living room chats, the surveys, but quick question, would you be interested in engaging the elementary students in your area in an activity about civic engagement and this project specifically?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, you can go to the next slide, please. So this is the website that I created. You don't need to use this, but I would suggest having one central place to keep all of the information together so that people can find what is the purpose of the project, how can I get involved, where is that survey that was mentioned. So this was created through a free site called Weebly, And the project or the web address is planhooper.weebly.com. And what you see on the screen right now is the home page. And that image could be replaced with a photograph from Hooper specifically. This came from a Google search of Hooper, Utah, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. Megan, next slide. On this page, it would have information about all the different ways that community members could get involved. And again, having one project website is to keep all the information in an easily navigated space. This site would be updated by us, but could also include any information that you want to provide or have available to your residents. So is that something that you would be interested in using?
Yeah.
Yes, Maddie, I think a lot of the citizens of Hooper, we have several Facebook pages that different people are on. So that's a media that is easily used by a lot of people within Hooper. So I think this is an excellent tool for us.
What we can certainly do with this website too is link it on your website, we can spam the Facebooks with lots of links to it, so we can just keep pointing people to it from all of the different ways that your community engages with the city.
And in keeping with the theme of centralizing information, I would also recommend having a project-specific email address so that all questions and comments about the project can be received, recorded, and responded to. So this would be an email address that I would monitor. It's hoopergeneralplan@gmail.com. Is this something that you think would be helpful for this project?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, moving on to community meetings. So how do we have a community meeting when we can't be face-to-face? So the first community meeting I'm proposing would be a virtual open house. And based on some of the comments that I've read on the different Facebook pages, there is a desire for virtual events, as well as having access to recordings from events if people were not able to attend the actual event at that time. So this meeting would be announced on the Facebook pages, the project website, the city website, and any other emailing lists you may have. It would be about an hour and a half long, and it would utilize the Zoom platform where each individual citizen would have their own computer, hopefully. The agenda for this would include an introduction to the project, its purpose and intent, similar to what we did today. And then it would also have individual and small group activities aimed at identifying what the community values and general goals are of the public, so we could really understand what the citizens of Hooper are looking for and what is important. We'd also provide information about focus rooms and living room chats, which is another way to get involved with this project. So these two things are both involving small groups of people. A focus group is going to be guided by our team. It's about 5 to 8 people who show a particular interest in a subject, and I'll show you those subjects in a second. And we'd meet 2 to 3 times between now and April or May of 2021. These would be regularly scheduled meetings, and it would involve a lot more in-depth problem solving and idea generation. And the goal is to get a representative sample of the whole city. So if you're thinking, what's his name would really like to be involved with that focus group because he cares so much about, insert what he cares about, that's really useful information for us, so we can reach out to those people. And then the second is this idea of a living room chat, in quotes, because we would recommend that this be a BYO food outdoor event, unless y'all feel comfortable with having it inside. These events would be led by community volunteers. So that would be one person saying, I want to host this event. I'm going to come up with a time and a place to meet, and we're going to discuss informally this plan and our thoughts and suggestions, and just provide a space to talk it out. A goal would be to identify different ways of thinking about things, different perspectives. Any questions on those?
No.
Okay. And the survey. So the purpose of the first survey is really around establishing values of the city and the citizens that live here. It has three main focus areas, and that is land use, transportation, and housing. And there are other general topics that we could cover, so if there's anything that you would like us to mention on this first survey, please let us know. We're going to be coordinating the release date with Shauna, and the survey will be open for about 4 to 5 weeks before, during, and after the first community meeting, so that people can attend that meeting and still provide feedback afterward. And here are a couple example questions. So this is the first one. In which spending areas would you rather the city make additional investments? And then we would ask people taking the survey to prioritize these. Are you all able to read the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just let me know if you'd like me to read it out loud. So that would be one example question. The next. How important are the following statements? And we would ask that survey respondents rank these from extremely important to not at all important. And this is bringing up some of the things that you were talking about, like the matching the existing architecture of Hooper, or deciding on an architectural style. Is that important to residents? How important is the ability to rent? How important is it to be able to stay in Hooper to and through retirement? Gauging different community values. Strongly to strongly disagree. Asking about different methods of transportation. So are survey respondents able to access their place of work? Is their commute time reasonable? Is the shopping done within Hooper or outside the city? Can you easily access parks and open spaces? And can you access educational facilities within Hooper? So these are the 3 example questions. If you want to click one more time, Megan. Do you have any questions or feedback on these sample questions?
I would like to say that some of those questions are applicable, but there's quite a few there that are not applicable to our community in Hooper. And if either of you have ever been to Hooper, you would understand why I'm saying this. So, I mean, I like the idea of sending out a survey and establishing values, but I'm not sure that these are the right questions to ask.
Okay. Can you give me an example of what you would like me to change?
We really can't see those under the pictures.
Can you move the picture away?
You're talking about the shopping
Any
Have
person
you
who
reviewed
wants
that?
to live in Hooper should be able to. You know, that's under that following, that the middle one, the bottom one on there. Any person who wants to live in Hooper should be able to. Just because they want to doesn't always mean you can. I'm assuming we can draft our own questions for this survey.
Yeah, we can certainly work with you on the
And the
question.
question, I do most of my shopping, food, and clothing within Hooper. We would all be starving and naked. So, you know, some of the questions just don't apply. So we would need to modify it a little bit.
Okay. Sounds
That's my
good.
point.
So what we might do, just kind of thinking here, we might maybe send a draft survey out to everybody on this committee and have you kind of mark it up with a red pen or add additional questions, and we can kind of get it into a format that works, and then check the final survey with Shauna and send it out if that works for everyone. We want to make sure to find the balance of giving all of the answers that someone might want to give us, and not asking a ridiculous question, like, do you love all 50 restaurants in Hooper, right? There's not that doesn't exist, right? So we want to find that balance. There might be, what we really want to avoid is not providing an answer that somebody would have wanted to give, even if nobody selects that option, right? So we'll send out a draft of this and kind of get your review on it before it goes out.
That would be good, so that everybody here on this advisory committee could have their input onto what his survey is going to involve or include.
Awesome.
Okay, and after this, we're going to be moving on. So, any more questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that outreach plan that Maddie talked about, we'll kind of put that into an actual document. It'll be really short, but it'll just outline exactly what we're going to do. You'll all have that so you can kind of follow along. We'll make sure you know about all of the events we're doing, whether it's something that you're encouraged to attend or just an FYI. We have focus groups going on this week, just so that you're in the know and you can be kind of community ambassadors of this project. If your neighbors ask you, what's going on with that general plan? And we don't want you to think, I'm on the advisory committee, but I have absolutely no idea. So we'll keep you informed as the outreach unfolds, and you'll have kind of the plan of how that's going to go. So I want to this is really just kind of workshopping with you and letting you in on our process here. This is something I wanted to bring up just for a refresher for everybody. Somebody said addressing the existing goals within the general plan today is something we need to do with this new general plan, which of course is going to be a big priority, finding out what's important to the residents of Hooper today. This is the existing general plan vision from the original 2001 general plan. Now, it's been amended. But these are the vision statements. Hooper is rural in nature and provides for future growth while respecting the land use patterns of the past and present. Hooper provides ample open space and is interconnected by a pathway and public roadway system. Hooper provides a healthy and happy atmosphere for all residents through all stages of life. And Hooper is visually attractive and comfortable for residents and visitors. Does that sound like your city? Hopefully it does, because that means your general plan kind of came true, right?
I think that's a good vision statement. I read it in our general plan, and I felt very comfortable with it.
Bob, no one hates it entirely, right?
No.
Okay. Okay. So this will be something that, we're not going to just toss it out the window. We're going to keep this as a framework, and we'll kind of weigh it throughout the project, right? Is this capturing everything that the community is giving us? Are there elements of this that need to change? Are there elements that need to be strengthened? So that'll be part of our process as we go along. And then, of course, we'll come up with a set of goals that go along with these vision statements. Okay, this is just a fun one. So we have your Hooper logo, and we can put that on everything we produce. And this is not a proposal. But I wanted to ask you all, is there a desire to brand this project kind of on its own, to bring additional attention? I know that you had sent out a public hearing that said putting Hooper first. Is that a slogan that that this committee wants to utilize throughout this project? Fill us in on that.
slogan that you just stated, putting Hooper first, that feels very, very strong, very comfortable, I think, to most of us in the room.
Okay.
And the tomatoes are good. We have another logo. It's on our mayor's shirt tonight, but it says Hooper City, and it shows a huge sunset, which we have beautiful sunsets here. So we can incorporate that as well.
That might be good to incorporate. Okay. We'll make sure that you guys have an opportunity to kind of weigh in on the website and on any flyers that we produce. We want to make sure it looks like Hooper and represents you, as well as being, you know, clean and literate and all the things that a flyer needs to be, right? Okay, so our next step, in addition to the outreach plan, is producing existing conditions for you. I just have on this, is this the logo you were referring to? And is that Mary? Sorry, I'm trying.
Yes,
Is that it?
This is Mary here. Yes, that's it. And see where it says
Okay.
preserving our past, protecting our present, and preparing for our future. That's what we're all about. That's what we're trying to do.
Awesome. Okay. So this is the existing conditions topics that we'll be producing, data for you. It's going to be kind of a picture of the city today, so that you'll look back and you'll know what we were basing the general plan on. A couple of fun facts, though, that I pulled out. In just the Chem C. Gardner Policy Institute projections that are done, for the county and then broken down by census areas, the city of Hooper is projected to grow by 275 people a year through the year 2050. So multiplying 275 by 30, right? And that's the growth to 2050. That certainly, I think today you're at about 9,120. I heard someone say 9,500. So we'll make sure that we have the exact number on that. That was the census, the ATS projection. And that would put you at 17,000 people by 2050. So if that projection is correct, that's a lot of growth. If it's even half correct, that's still a lot of growth. There's a lot of reason to plan. It's never a bad time to plan, but during a time of growth, it's certainly important. Back to full screen here. Another projection that stood out to us is that Hooper has a 94% owner occupancy. So nearly everyone in Hooper owns the home that they live in, which is pretty interesting. That's a lot higher than the rest of the state. Okay, let's see, what time is it? We are at 7. We're going to be able to wrap up a little early for you today. I think that we probably would spend more time in person. We're going to work on making a format for this meeting that works a little bit better so that we can hear from everybody. That's really important to the project. But I want to ask a question, and we can get a few answers around the room, or if it's a question that a lot of people would like to weigh in on, we can take some more time. But what should Hooper look like in 15 years?
Why did you choose the 15-year time frame?
What was that?
Why did you choose the 15-year time frame?
Because it's about halfway. So a typical general plan looks out about 30 years. So I just thought halfway might be kind of an interesting thing to think about. This is, of course, not the only time we're going to ask about vision for Hooper or the goals for the city. But just kind of as a end of our meeting, let's discuss Hooper and Hooper's future. We can talk about 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever you think.
Hey, this is Alex. I also think 15 years is an interesting time because it's not the far distant future, but it's not the immediate future. So it's kind of a in-between period that you can say, like, oh, there won't be flying cars, but it's not like tomorrow also.
I think it should look much the same now, obviously with the improvements, but it should still maintain the same quality that we have presently. Whatever it looks like, it should still have the great feel that we have now. So kind of along with our logo, preserving our past and looking to the future.
Okay.
I feel like we get input in our planning commission meetings every month. Whenever there's a request for a change in zoning, and I would say 99% of the people that are opposed to it stand up and say, I'm moving to Hooper because I like it the way it is. And we don't want to see these big changes. Now, I realize that we have to have growth and that we will have growth. It's inevitable. We want to be able to manage our growth, but we still want Hooper in 15 years. I think, okay, I'm going to say my personal opinion, but from my experience, I want the Hooper of 15 years in the future to be still rural, peaceful, and quiet, and not loaded with townhomes and multifamily dwellings.
You know, one thing I really like about Hooper and Perry aren't really that close together, but every time we're north working with cities, we hear a lot of we don't want any change and we really love our city. And sometimes when we're in other areas, I hear a lot of like a laundry list of things that need to change. So of course we're walking into another great city. You love it, that's why you're there. You don't have a laundry list of all the terrible things that need to be addressed, right? So that's good. We're going to really work throughout this project to dive deeper into why it's good and what it is that we need to maintain and how we can go about maintaining that. Of course, you recognized it, right? Growth will happen, change will happen, but there are certain things that you can put into policy or into your procedures that can maintain some of that, the feel, right, that's so good in Hooper. Is there anything that someone's got on their mind that like, oh, this needs to change in the next 15 years? We heard a little bit about, you know, there's some need for commercial, certainly not a massive center, right, or anything, a shopping mall or anything like that, but some commercial, right? Is there anything else that's like, oh, this might need to change?
So I would like to see maybe an area where we do have some commercial, but with a nostalgic feel to it. There were some things, you know, years ago there was a little restaurant called the Ranch House that everybody has kind of a place in their heart for, the people that grew up out here, and I would like to see some things like that maybe a little cafe or something where people in the community could go and enjoy it and it had that nostalgia to it. And going back to the 15-year thing, as far as what I'd like to see, Hooper's a really tight-knit community. Right now, you can still drive down the road or go for a walk and everybody a lot of times will wave, even if they don't know your name. There's that sense of community, and I'd like to see that still here in 15 years. I'd like to see the same faces here because they want to stay, and they haven't decided to leave and go somewhere else to seek what Hooper used to be. I'd like to retain that, and but also see maybe some people that grew up out here and some newer faces too that are able to come and enjoy what we have to offer, but have it controlled and done in a responsible way.
Awesome.
Can I ask a question about what you were saying about the cafes and the nostalgic feel? Would you say that Hooper would want, or do you have something that would be considered a main street?
Sort of.
We don't have a specific.
We have a four-way stop.
Yeah, we have a four-way stop by the school and the post office. So we really don't have a specific commercial corridor, but we have been talking about trying to develop, encourage development along the piece of land that you would drive down when you came into Hooper, and have that be like a Main Street type of feel, so that we had, so when you pull into Hooper, you feel like you're welcome. And you'll see a gas station and a fire station, and just, you know, further down the road is the school and the post office. but we'd like to have maybe incorporate a few shops right along, I'm talking about 5500 South, people, right? East of Sinclair, in that area. So we have about a block from 51 to 5500 South on, or 5500 West on 5500 South that's, would be perfect to be developed as a type of main street into Hooper and have that, and that's what we want to cling to tightly is the nostalgic feel, so that you feel like when you are driving in here, you're coming home, and that's the feel that we want.
That was very beautifully said. You want to just write that down and we'll just kidding. We'll write it down. Rosie, did you get that? Okay.
Aren't you recording this meeting? Isn't this meeting being recorded?
Yeah, it is. I was just teasing you. It was just a very beautiful way of putting it. So that really leads us pretty well into the activity we want to ask of all of you. Typically in these meetings, we'll put a map up and we want you to mark down everything you can think of to tell us about. But Alex, I'll turn it over to you to talk about this mapping activity.
Great, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. So like Megan said, typically in like the first kickoff meeting, we'll have just like a blank mapping exercise that kind of helps us get a sense of the community and like what resources you guys have, and like what you're talking about is like that area, I think you said on 5900 West and 5500 South. So like, just like maybe that area is something that the community has been thinking about and talking about developing. So we just kind of, rather than having a map that we were trying to like take everybody's comments online, we thought we would send out a little homework exercise. So really this is just like, tell us anything you want us to know about Hooper. You know, that could be like this, there needs to be connections here, or this land should be preserved forever because it's, you know, valuable open space, or, you know, valuable ag land. It could be like, we're missing transportation connections, whether that's streets, whether that's active transportation, whether that's sidewalks. So really it's just like a collecting house of all your ideas, and we're gonna help, we're gonna use this to help us and kind of inform and like provide a little more context sensitive solutions to like any recommendations we come up with. As you probably guess, we haven't been up to Hooper a lot. We have driven through it once or twice, but you know, just driving through a place doesn't really give you the sense of the community that we want, and neither does reading your previous general plan, to be honest. I mean, it's a good general plan, but we really want to hear from you guys and just tell us everything we need to know about kind of the land use and transportation and open space in Hooper. So with that, the homework can be sent out a number of different ways. So we're going to send you guys an email after this meeting asking which way you would like to get the maps. We could send them to you in Google Slides that would provide a comment box for you to add add comments, and we'll send instructions of this, and you can put that wherever you want in the Google slide. We could have it be a PDF version where if you have Adobe Reader or an editor feature for PDFs, you can just make comments directly on a PDF. Or feeling that, we're happy to, we're going up there next Monday to do a site tour, so we'd be happy to drop off some hard copies, and you can just, you know, physically mark them up and email and scan them back to us. And so we just basically just wanted to hear what you guys want to tell us about Hooper. So we're going to provide two different maps for you to mark up. The first one is a completely blank map that's, you know, nothing on it really. You know, I mean, I realize that we didn't get furthest west out into Hooper, but you know, if you want to add a little marking out there to an island or something like that, feel free to do that. And then the second map we're going to provide you is, you want to go to the next slide, please, is the regional transportation plan map. So WFRC, in addition to doing, you know, community projects like this one, we do develop the regional transportation plan, which looks at transportation planning out to 2050. And so basically, all these lines here that you see are what the community, so you know, elected officials and staff of Hooper and the county have told us what their transportation needs are for the future. So the thick lines are roads, that's either improvements or new roads. I think most of these are probably road improvements. And then the dotted lines are active transportation. But in addition to that, to help develop the regional transportation plan, we put in, if you look on about 4,000 south, there's a small yellow blob, and that is a land use center. So that's kind of where we've been indicated that, maybe future development might be happening. And that wasn't something we came up with, that was something that was done by locals. So, but if that's shifting potentially south or to a different location, this is something we'd love to hear on the map as well. So, like I said, we're going to send out an email asking how everybody would like to get a map to mark up. But I'm happy to answer any questions or like what we're looking for or things like that if you have questions now. And we'll give instructions for each way the map could be used when we hear back from you how you would like to get the map. So if you say we want a Google slide, we'll give you directions on how to use a Google slide comment feature.
We're just chatting here about how we would like to receive the map.
Okay. Well, it can be different for each person too.
Okay.
So we'll send it.
Well, since you said you were coming up next Monday for a field trip, is that right?
We are.
We're going to do an internal field trip just to get a better sense of the community and some of the.
And who's going to be your guide? Is that
We were going to ask you that question. We were going to ask if anyone wants to join us.
I think plenty of us would that are on this advisory committee. If you just tell us when you're going to be here, we could meet here at the city offices and caravan.
It'll be around 2 or 2:30.
Next Monday, correct?
Yes, the 28th. And yeah, we were just going to ask you if anyone would like to join. We'll just, wear our masks and walk at a distance. But it'll also allow us to hear a little more from you and put some faces to the names.
Okay, that would be great. Well,
No pressure. I know everyone's busy.
Yeah. No, I think there's several sitting here that are nodding their heads saying yes, they would like to join you in that caravan around town so we can show you where growth is and where our agriculture areas are and places where we envision some commercial, like a home, Main Street. And of course, we have one elementary school here. There's no junior high or high school. 2 elementary schools, I'm sorry, forget about Fremont. And so, yeah, I think we would love to join you in your caravan. And so if you're coming up next week, if you would bring paper copies of these maps, we have we need 15, maybe 20 of them. But also send out in an email to to the advisory committee that you have a PDF version, or what do you think?
Well, I think they're going to send it individually, and we know it's our preference, so they're going to do that.
Okay, you're going to individually message each person on the advisory committee.
We'll just probably send an email, but we can blind copy you so that you don't get a 1,000 emails with questions.
Okay, but
We'll send it with the survey and more details about our little tour where we can meet. Probably Hooper Park.
Okay, we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
So you'd like about 15 copies of maps, and then we can also send out a static PDF to the group too. And if there are people who want to use a PDF markup tool, they can do that. And then everybody else can pick up the map, the hard copy.
That sounds good. 15 copies would be pretty good. Thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Anything else, Alex?
No, I think we're just really looking forward to getting to know your community a little better from you guys and, making recommendations that fit the character community.
Okay. The next steps, and I'll leave a little time at the end of our meeting for questions to make sure we're leaving you with all the information. So of course, the next step, our site tour. And I've already asked the question, would anyone like to join us? We'll take as many of you as would like to come and just, point out everything you'd like to us, and then it'll be nice to put some context to your comments in the map as well. But like I said, no pressure. I know that you are already dedicating a lot of time to this committee, and we appreciate it. So totally up to you. it's certainly something that we would do no matter what, tour guide or not. So also the existing conditions report, we'll be putting that together. We'll be finalizing our outreach plan. Those things will be coming to you in multiple weeks. But right away, of course, you'll be receiving the survey, draft survey to react to and provide edits to, with a deadline for that so we can get it out. And the map to put comments in, those will come quickly. And then, of course, we'll kick off outreach. We'll get started on scheduling events and sending out our survey and formulating those focus groups. And we'll certainly be looking for your help on those for folks in your neighborhood that might be avid cyclists, or they love to tell you about traffic, or they whatever it is. Maybe you can get them more involved and kind of be our ambassador for that. The next advisory committee will be mid-November. That's to allow us to get all these things produced and back to you, as well as come to you with some results from our outreach. The line of communication is not closed, so we'll be talking with Shauna a whole lot. You're welcome to email us directly if there are things that you would like to ask about or let us know. That's my email up there on the screen. And I have your contacts. We did have I think you all got a reply from Ireland. We had a typo in one email. But if you didn't get an email from me, make sure a calendar appointment from me for this. Make sure that Shauna has your email correct in what she gave me. I'm sure that the rest of them are. Okay. I think that's all. Any questions after today? Of course, like I said, there's lots of time for that.
Megan, would you mind just sending me the slides, and I can email out the slides to the committee also, just so they have those?
Yes. I can just attach them to that big email if that's easier.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Will do. Okay. Not hearing anything. I think that's not just my audio. It sounds like for now all the answers are, you guys have it all. So thank you all. This was a little bit of a clunky meeting. We'll figure it out. We are certainly wanting to be careful, but also we need to make this a really successful project, and we want to get to know all of you. So thanks for spending your Tuesday night with us, and don't hesitate to reach out. Look for an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.